Hi, everyone. My name is Meg Karwowski. I'm CEO and founder of Obviously. We're a full service influencer marketing agency working with the world's top brands. And I'm so excited to be here with Bette Ann Fialkov. Bette Ann and I go way back. I'll get into that a little bit more. But in terms of women in the influencer marketing space, she has been at the forefront and continues to be at the forefront and at a number of brands. We've done a lot of work together. I started obviously 9 years ago, and I think we started working together 7 years ago at Google. So just to give you a little bio, because Bette Ann can be modest, but she worked at Google as the celebrity and influencer and fashion partnerships manager for hardware. I actually remember, I think you were on the phone. We were on the phone and we were trying to get custom pixel cases for influencers, and you were like, the yellows look like oranges in the plant, and I'm like, wow, Bette Ann is like on top of it, and this is going to be a super cool activation. So that was like my first intro to you, and then moving over to Lyft, and then as the director of culture and entertainment and head of influencer marketing, and then now at Hims and Hers as the head of entertainment and culture. Also, another connection that we have is that we are part of one of the great college rivalries, where I went to UNC Chapel Hill and Bette Ann went to Duke, and yet, we still make it work. So
I love that. Thank you so much for the intro, May. I mean, you nailed it. There's not much else that I would add. I think it's been amazing to work with you over the years and see the industry grow and change and develop. I still remember when we met, and I quickly brought you over to Google to help us with all things micro-influencer, and micro-influencer wasn't even a term at that time. And the technology was not even, where it is today, but we'll get into that later.
Awesome. Yeah, let's kind of start with current day. What are you really seeing in terms of your macro and celebrity influencer strategy, and how are you approaching that at Hims and Hers?
Yeah, so I really like to think of influencer marketing, celebrity partnerships as a tiered approach. So if you think of a pyramid, with the top of the pyramid being the celebrity with the largest following, being able to recognize them, facial recognition, and then going down from that, having macro and micro influencers that really act as kind of like the supporting cast to whatever that brand message is that is being, discussed by the big celebrities. So I'm in the process of implementing that at Hims and Hers. We're really focused on our mental health vertical. So just for context, for those of you out there that may not know, Hims and Hers is a telehealth company. And as Evie said in the intro, we're really about opening doors for everyone, democratizing stigmatized conditions, or destigmatizing stigmatized conditions, and really making sure that healthcare is accessible. And we focus on a couple of core verticals, mental health being one of the priorities, but we also focus on hair loss, ED, as well as skincare. But currently, we're really doubling down on mental health and building out a robust, celebrity and influencer strategy around that. I think the tiered approach really helps to not only increase engagement, buzz, awareness, PR, but on our end also increase conversions as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and you've had have quite a roster. I'd love to just hear a little bit about how do you go and identify those people to really work with Hims and Hers?
Yeah, so currently we have an amazing roster of celebrities. I just joined Hims and Hers in January, so all of these partnerships were before my time, but I've inherited them, so I'm working on them now. But we have J-Lo, Gronk, Miley Cyrus. Those are current partnerships. So J-Lo is our partner for women's hair loss. Gronk is one of our partners for men's hair loss as well as mental health. And then Miley is our partner for skincare as well as mental health. So, I think in thinking through who is the right partner for us, what is extremely important is to make sure that the authentic story is there, that these celebrities actually have a connection to the condition that we're discussing and have experienced it. So J-Lo has been an amazing partner because she actually experienced hair loss and was willing to talk about it and her treatment of it. And so because of that, we're able to tell this story with her that's so real and so authentic and relatable to women who are going through hair loss. So when we're looking for our future partners, that is definitely making sure that they have that connection, that authentic story to the condition that we're talking about.
Awesome. And I think, so many people know the term influencer, but really, if you could kind of give us a peek behind the curtain in conversations, say with like a J-Lo or a Miley or someone at the celebrity or even macro influencer level, how are you really figuring out if they, do have the condition and if their story is really authentic enough? Are you, like sitting down and kind of just, they're telling you, hey, I have these issues and I'm willing to talk, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think, at a high level, a lot of the people, for example, for mental health, a lot of the celebrities that we are, in talks to or going to go out to, or macro influencers, they've already been vocal about it in some capacity, whether it's their, whether they're posting about therapy on Instagram or they've been interviewed about it. And so, you know, that gives us our ground floor of like, okay, we know that they're interested in this, we know that they've experienced this. Where we have to dive deeper is, if they've taken prescriptions in order to help them, if like what their treatments have been. So we dive deeper into that, either by talking to their agents, their managers, really getting intel on that. Again, it's really important from the start, and we're very clear when we start having these conversations, like, this is what we're looking for. We don't want to work with somebody who, on the mental health side, we don't want to work with somebody that is just passionate about mental wellness. Like, we want somebody that can talk about their anxiety, can talk about their depression, because that's what's relatable to people, and that's what people want to hear about and learn from.
Yeah, I think that, the term authenticity in influencer marketing is definitely said quite a bit, but it's quite another thing to be like, no, this person is telling a like honest to God true story.
Totally.
And they love this brand and they take this product, and this partnership makes so much sense. And when that's not the case, you really can see that play out in the comments, and the performance just isn't there as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important. Awesome. And kind of what's next for Hims and Hers? Where do you want to kind of take the influencer strategy going forward?
Yeah, so one thing that my team and I are in the process of implementing is an influencer ambassador program. So definitely had experience doing that together at Google when we launched Team Pixel, which was essentially an ambassador program where we had a small group of influencers where we would give them hardware across our slew of products at Google. And that was so fun when we worked on that together. But here at Hims and Hers, we haven't had an ambassador program in the past. And so I'm a true believer in it, because I think building these relationships so that they're not just like transactional one-offs is important. And for us in the space, in the telehealth care space that we're in, there's two things that I'm trying to achieve. One, brand awareness, and that top of the funnel awareness that you get with influencer marketing. But two, we also want to be able to use this content for ads and for the actually getting conversions as well. And so implementing an ambassador program, we're going to be able to really, again, like take out that like transactional feeling from it, where we're just like focusing on growth marketing and creating ads, and really turn the ambassadors into the voice of our brand. And so we're in the process of starting to implement this and execute on the strategy. And we're really thinking through, again, like micro influencers, macro influencers who have connections to these conditions that we're talking about. And then we're thinking through, like, over the year, like how this comes to life, how we are able to get content that we're going to that's going to live on the influencers own pages as well as our own socials. And then how are we going to get content that we can turn into ads that we can use across digital. And so and then also, what are we going to be able to give to these influencers that's not just a cash payment, like what opportunities, perks, access are we able to give them, so we're able to turn this program into something where influencers are coming to us and want to be part of.
Do you have any sneak peeks of what some of those perks might be? Because at Google, I mean,
Yeah.
you're taking people to Sundance, and I'm like, awesome, Sundance
Yeah.
Film Festival. It was pretty unbelievable. And then and at Lyft, going to Beyonce concerts. So what's kind of in store?
Yeah,
or-
so
Hint?
we are going to be having some really exciting events come up at Hims and Hers, which we haven't done in the past. So access to these events in LA and New York. We're also thinking through what that, gifting strategy is. We obviously have so many products. I recently just saw Kylie sent out a suitcase filled with all of her products, which we want to create something where we're sending something that's juicy, that it's big, because we have so many incredible products across all of our verticals, and we're continuing to launch products as well. So figuring out those over-the-counter products and how we can deliver them in a fun, unique unboxing experience throughout the year.
Yeah, just for anyone who maybe isn't as familiar with influencer marketing, this concept of unboxing is really unique to the influencer space. If you're on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, it was really made famous with beauty influencers, where they'll receive a package, say they bought something on Ulta online, and then they open it and they talk through everything that's in the package, and now they can be quite elaborate, and kind of the bigger the better in terms of really getting influencers excited about a given brand. I love the comment that you made, because I think it is really new for so many people in the influencer space to be talking about actually creating paid ads from influencer content. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about just what that looks like tactically, and why influencers like it.
Yeah, so we've been doing this a lot at Hims and Hers, even before my time. And what, essentially we whitelist the accounts that are creating content, and we turn that content into paid posts. So it looks like it's from the influencer, but it's actually boosted. So there's more eyeballs that are driven to it, but it feels like as you're scrolling through your feed, it feels organic, because it's actually content from the influencer versus content from our brand. And it tends to perform really well when somebody sees content from their favorite influencer, and it's like served to them in this format.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of the difference between a creative agency creating, a 15-second video on TikTok versus an influencer who's just organically lives and breathes TikTok 24/7. And we've seen that just works so well. And then also influencers love it too, because not every single thing has to be posted through their own account.
Yeah.
Which is great. Very cool. And then I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, maybe sticking on Hims and Hers for a minute. How do you really get executive buy-in when you're really trying, you're relatively new to the role, you're really trying to, transform and have a real focus on influencers and authentic stories. How do you do that? How do you get that buy-in? How do you get that budget? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I just went through this. So, I think specifically to Hims and Hers, what's been very helpful for me is to present real examples based off of my career, showing them this is what worked at Google. This was, how we built Team Pixel. This was why it worked. This was why YouTube content creation worked. Then looking at Lyft, like the same thing. Here are examples of experience when we at Lyft, we partnered with LeBron, and we partnered going back to like that pyramid idea. We partnered with LeBron, and we partnered with macro influencers, and we partnered with micro influencers in order to really create this big brand message. And so using those examples and basically giving case studies. So it's definitely a lot of education. And I think, I'm coming to the company at a point where, they've been doing a lot of growth marketing, and now we are, thinking about brand a lot. And so it's exciting time, because everything that I've done in the past has really been about brand awareness. It hasn't been about, downloading the app or conversions. Really, it's like the metrics that we've been looking at in my past have been really laddered up into brand. And so now I'm at this point where I'm able to kind of like combine both of them, which is really exciting. But getting that buy-in, just education, stats, real numbers, showing them what works. I think that is key in order to convince them to think in a different way.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's actually a perfect segue. I'm actually going to show a few things for the audience, just in terms of some really great work and examples, because I think that you've just done so much awesome work in the space that everyone should really, let me just.
Well, we've done it together. So.
Yeah. Can you see? Can you see it?
Not yet.
Okay, let me just see if I can do this. Hold on.
There it goes.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, maybe you want to, I love how concrete these examples are, because it just shows like how to layer on influencer marketing on top of so many different initiatives within a company, and how to really do it in just such a like best in class way. So I'd love for you to maybe walk us through one or two of these.
Yeah. So, I think with Lyft, a lot of what I was doing around influencer marketing was really around our initiatives that were always giving back. So whether we were, partnering around like voting, for example, so like the cause-driven programs. So a great partnership that we did was around Lift Up and More Than a Vote, where we were really encouraging people to, take a Lyft, take a city bike, whatever mode of transportation provided by Lyft, and get out and vote. And so what we found a lot with the influencers was that tying to this like cause-driven initiative was always important, because influencers are looking for something more. It's not, just about the products anymore. Like, yes, the products are of course important, but like tying to something bigger and giving them a cause to help promote is so enticing for influencers. And around these moments in time, like vote, like the elections and everything, it like we saw so many influencers wanted to be part of this program because it was just such like an amazing initiative. Then, of course, we did more like hyper local programs where we were focused on and these are non-cause related, but City Bike in New York, we were launching in different boroughs, and tying to really hyper local influencers in those communities to show that they could take City Bike. And then a lot of times, which was always fun working on together, and you kind of brought this up before, but we would send influencers to events, and like here you mentioned the South Beach Food and Wine Festival, but we also did a lot with the Infatuation and EatsCon and various sort of cultural events, even concerts. Like you mentioned Beyonce, we sent influencers to
I love that.
Yeah, that was awesome. But we weren't part of the event per se. Like in some cases we had a partnership, but like, with Beyonce, like we weren't part of the event, but we sent influencers, they took Lyft, they talked about their experience, and it was really tied to this sort of like cultural moment, which was fun.
Yeah, I think one thing that's so awesome about this too is just that so many brands do some really, really great things, especially with regards to causes, and very few people actually see them. They don't really see the light of day. They don't really get air and space on social media. Whereas it's such a great match, because then you have creators who are like, oh, cool, I didn't know that Lyft was doing this. Like, I want to tell my followers how much I love Lyft and how awesome it is that they're doing this cause related campaign work. So it's great. It gives awesome content for the influencer to really engage their audience around a passion point. And it really promotes something awesome that the company is doing at the same time. Sometimes brands don't necessarily always think like, oh, we could really give some space and really like shine a light on some of the awesome work that we're doing. So I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool. And then, yeah, here's some
fun.
Great content. I know it. Yeah, it's so fun to actually find the influencers for these things. So when we do like hyper local campaigns, being like, okay, cool. Who do we have? Who's in the Bronx? Who loves Lyft? Who can tell just like the best story possible? So.
Yeah, I always like to say why you guys are so great is like, I have come to you with really niche asks, like we need to find influencers in New Orleans who are,
I remember that one.
like who want to do something around Halloween and are available on these dates, and you're always able to somehow find them for us.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the creators are just so excited too, because a lot of times maybe they have 5,000 followers, they have 12,000 followers, and they're like, oh my God, Lyft wants to work with me on such a cool, like NOLA activation. Like, of course, I want to do it. So that's awesome.
Oh yeah, this one too. You're bringing me back.
I know, cool. And then maybe if you just want to speak to some of the work with Google. This is, I mean, it's just so interesting to see too, maybe to talk through a few of these, and then we can just talk about how the space has evolved.
Yeah. So in Google, we did so much. What you were saying before, when we first started working together, we were having micro influencers, which like we weren't even using that term then, but we were having them basically create designs for phone cases, and then like talk about them on their social. So we were working with a lot of photographers at first, and then as my role changed, we launched Pixel 1, Pixel 2. We really expanded to other forms of hardware. We worked together on Jacquard, which was the smart jacket where you just would touch it, swipe it on your hand and you could answer your phone or do different things. We worked on Pixel Buds, to seed them to dozens of influencers. And then talk about them, and then all of the case partnerships that I launched. So as some context, I worked with various artists and celebrities in order to create these special cases that essentially told a story. So worked with like some amazing artists like Jen Stark, Friends with You, and worked with some, I worked with Jeff Koons, Skrillex, Jeremy Scott, and around all of these partnerships, we would send the phone case and the phone to influencers and again, like have them tell a story and promote this. So that was always so much fun working on those. I think, TikTok didn't exist then. So like everything we were doing was basically on Instagram, and even like stories didn't exist at that point. like it's changed so much. Even like on your side, like the technology, I remember when we were first like working together like 7 or 8 years ago, we were like working out of like spreadsheets, and things have like developed so much on your side even. It's really wild to see the space really growing and changing so quickly.
I know. Yeah. We've just spent so much time really and tech energy, just making sure that we can do very complex, very robust programming that, we didn't exist. Video wasn't a format that we were doing very much outside of YouTube, about like 7 years ago. So that's great. Where are you really seeing the space evolve now? What are you kind of, let's just stop sharing this. But
I mean, I think we're at sort of like this pivotal moment where I feel like influencers want to be real, which is great. And you're seeing that in, some of the content they're posting on Instagram. It's like, these dumps, like, like my May dump or like my dump of the week. And they're just like posting
the photo dump.
Random pictures from their photo reel. I think also we're seeing this in the platforms that are popping up, like the Be Real app that recently launched, where you basically like, you take a photo of what's in front of you. It also takes a photo of you, and like, it's like one photo, that's it. You can't edit it. There's no filters. Their whole messaging, I think, is uncontrollable social media and real life without filters. And so I think there's this movement to, take away the filters, be real, like show that this is real life. This is me. Like you're seeing this, for on the Hims and Her side, I'm really seeing this in the acne space, where influencers, huge influencers are talking about, their acne and showing themselves without makeup, and showing like their problems with acne. And so I think that this being real, like their followers want this. Like, we want to see them without the makeup on, without the filters, like all of that.
Totally. I think and it really tracks back to like Instagram was getting so aspirational and like so almost staged. And I'm having my latte on my marble countertop, wearing my like perfect outfit with the light hitting me just so like I look amazing. Compared to TikTok, where it's like I'm in my bedroom doing something kind of crazy, with a towel over my head to symbolize like I'm my mom talking to me. It's just like literally like night and day. And now with, Be Real, it's actually like, don't even pretend like you're doing something cool right now. Like, just show us, like, yeah, I'm binging Netflix and I'm hanging out. And that's the moment of the day that they decided to catch. So I think it is really interesting that just that concept of authenticity is now very much like inherent to the new platforms too.
Yeah, definitely.
Very cool. Awesome. So I think we have a few. Love to open it up to some questions. I see a few in the chat. If anyone else has some, now's the time to definitely to ask. So Sarah Herring is asking Bette Ann, what tech or platforms do you use to manage your campaigns?
Yeah. So currently at Hims and Hers, we have a platform called Tracker that we use, but in the future, we're going to be working with, obviously, once we get this off the ground. So
I think that's a verbal. That's a verbal.
So, when I was at both Google and Lyft, from like a micro influencer point of view, we worked like exclusively with, obviously, and those campaigns that were run were then, of course, tracked by their proprietary technology. So Hims and Hers, we have a technology that like we use on our own. We're not running campaigns through it, but we use it to really track.
Yeah. And I would just add on to that, especially for like really small brands or brands just starting out, there are a number of self-service tools. So there's like Grin and Creator IQ can be just a great place to start and really start to try to just engage with a few influencers, see what they think about your product, see what questions they ask you, what they'd be interested in talking about. And yeah, really just start to experiment. I think that's so important.
Yeah. When I was consulting, when I was out on maternity leave, I actually used a platform called Dovetail. And I thought it was really great for, somebody that, was on their own, alone, like doing this. It was very usable, user-friendly.
Awesome. And then we have a comment question from Kate Brockman saying, Bette Ann, I'm an early career social media manager, building an influencer ambassador program. Do you ever offer one-on-one coaching?
I love that question. And I am all about empowering women in this space. So definitely, we can definitely talk. Feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. I think I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in without having like incredible female mentors. And so I know it can be challenging to get started in the space. And honestly, like when I got started in the space, like it did not exist. Like influencer marketing was not a career. And so it just sort of fell into it. And I molded my career and sort of, took the bull by the horns and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go deep into this and become an expert. And so like, I love to give back and, help others that are just starting out.
And Bette Ann has actually also done and is an advisor and an investor in different startups. Man, we could talk for a lot longer, but I think one really interesting one that we've worked on together is Trading TV.
Yeah.
And actually, if you want to just speak to that briefly, I think that's
so
really cool case study.
So I am an advisor for Trading TV, which is basically it's a social live streaming platform for financial content creators. And what's really interesting about it, it's not just a platform where you can go on and live stream and consume content, but you can actually trade on the platform as well, which makes it really unique. So you can watch your favorite, financial content creator talking about, the stock market, which is crashing or whatever. And you can actually like buy and sell stocks, and in the future, NFTs and crypto and things like that. So yeah, we got to work on it together in order to find financial content creators. And so we, obviously in Trading TV partnered in order to discover some of these creators that are out there.
Yeah, I think like finding and really building that trust with those creators too is just so important. There's so much happening in the tech finance space, but to really be able to approach them to like, hey, we'd love to pitch you on this concept. We'd love to have Bette Ann answer any of your questions. We'd love to just build a relationship before we even see if you might want to be on the platform. That just worked so well. And I think they also just gave really solid feedback too, which is, when you're starting a company, any and all feedback from creators is just like so helpful.
Definitely. I mean, firsthand, you started your company.
Yeah, exactly. I know, we're like, creators, tell us everything that you think all the time.
Yeah.
All the best ideas come from the creators. That's awesome. Oh, and then you have a shout out too from Nicole Meyerson, who said, just wanted to say hi, BA. She worked with you at Google.
Oh, nice. Hi, Nicole.
That's awesome.
Great. Any other questions? I think actually we're probably at time.
You actually have a couple more minutes if you want to keep going. I know that there's been a lot of chatter in the chat, which is really lovely to see. I just wanted to know who you respectively follow as your own influencer.
Oh, that is a great question. So I love following, there's different categories of people that I follow. I love following a lot of artists and designers. I mentioned the artist Jen Stark before. I love following her because I feel like there's this big intersection right now in culture of art, fashion, music, design, and I feel like a lot gravitates around like these artists. And so the other day I saw on her post, she's like with Sia and all these interesting people. And so I love that. I also follow, one of my favorites right now is Tinks. I know there's like
she's great.
Buzz about, she's great. There was a little bit of like negativity that just recently happened. Somebody like resurfaced her tweets from like 10 years ago. I love her. I think she handled it so well. I think she's real. Like she's one of those influencers where she's talking about everything. She actually has hair loss. And so, I'm putting this out in the universe. I really want to work with Tinks around our hers hair loss product. But she just keeps it real and she's funny. Like I love following funny people, people that are really creating content that, I want to sit and go through all their posts because it's making me laugh. It's, it's entertaining.
Yeah. I think one thing with her too is she's done just a really good job like managing the business of her career. And I think we're really going to see that. And sorry, it's such a big trend as it is. There are certain people who are just fantastic at creating. And they're good at really gaining an audience, but are they super strategic about what brands they're working with? Are they strategic about what, additional lines of revenue or what their passion projects are going to be, or what they're really going to, turn their audience onto that they really care about? And I think she's just, she has such intention in what she's doing, and she clearly has a really strong team behind her. And that kind of merging of like entrepreneurship with, hey, I'm an influencer and I have this huge audience is just
and she has a clear point of view. I also really like Jordan Firstman. I think he's also hilarious, clear point of view, clear, like his aesthetic of what he does, the videos that he does, the impressions that he does are so great. Like he's talented. So is Tinks. Like her like Rich Mom series, like
So
it's
good.
great. And it's relatable. It's so funny. You know somebody like that.
Right. Do you want to answer one last question? We have 2 minutes left, and Mark Sampson just sent something in. So I'll steal the moderator seat for a second. And he asks if you have any thoughts on sponsoring an artist, music discovery program, or emerging artists.
Yeah, so I love working with emerging artists. And I think, over my career, I've worked with a lot of artists, like both up and coming and established. When I was at Google, one of my last big projects was with John Legend, where we filmed a music video entirely on Pixel 2. I also worked with Solange while I was at Google, and it was really fun. We got to do a sound bath in the Catskills. Pixel was involved with this as well. It was really unique. A lot of what I did at Lyft was we would often partner with up and coming artists. So one of the artists, like towards the end of when I was there, was Pink Sweats. An up and coming hip hop artist. He's amazing. And so we had our ear to the ground in order to figure out like who's going to be like, the next big thing. With Hims and Hers, I definitely want to integrate that mentality, finding up and coming artists and, really being able to empower them and tell their story and how it relates, to our brand.
Fantastic. May, any last words with the 1 minute left, or last question that you want to grill Bette Ann with?
What's your favorite campaign that you've ever done?
Oh.
Wow. Favorite campaign. So I'm gonna talk about, because I love experiential and how it relates to influencer marketing. So I'm going to talk about an event that I did, which is my favorite. And I actually think some obviously influencers attended it, but it was when I was at Google, and we, again, were talking about Pixel 2, the launch of that, and it was right around Halloween time. And so we created this experience at this old mansion in the Upper West Side in New York, where we created a murder mystery dinner where influencers were given a Pixel phone and they got to go through this murder mystery experience, but they had to use their Pixel phone in order to get to the next room or to, order their drink. And so I loved it because we were really putting the product in the influencers' hands, and it wasn't just like a gifting, like we were making them use it. We were making them experience the magic. And I just take that event and I try to, when we give, even at Hims and Hers, when we give people products, when we're seeding products, I want to make sure that we're giving them the products at like the right moment where they're going to use them. So we launched some skincare, and we want to, influencers are going to Coachella or Stagecoach. Like we want to give them the skincare like before that. And so they'll actually use it. So yeah, I love that Halloween campaign. It's amazing.
We love hearing about that. And I'm so scared to say that we're at time. See how I did that? Halloween. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Oh, Bette Ann Fialkov of Hims and Hers, and May Karwowski of Obviously. This was a great session, and I really, really want to thank you for that. And no filters are on. So we appreciate your time. Thank you again.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.